Dear brothers and sisters, being kind is a beautiful quality, but being too nice can sometimes slowly damage your dignity. There are people who give, forgive, tolerate and sacrifice again and again, yet they feel unappreciated, unheard and emotionally exhausted. Not because they are weak, but because they never learned where kindness should stop. Islam teaches us to be gentle, but it does not teach us to lose our self-respect. Islam teaches mercy, but it does not teach us to allow ourselves to be constantly hurt. Sometimes the problem is not that we are kind, the problem is that we forget our own worth. In this reminder, we will reflect on 5 powerful lessons that will help you remain kind without losing your dignity and respect yourself in a way that brings peace to your heart. 1. Kindness should not mean losing your value. My beloved brothers and sisters, being kind is one of the most beautiful qualities a believer can have. Kindness softens hearts, builds relationships, and spreads peace in a world that often feels harsh. Islam encourages us to speak gently, behave with humility, and treat others with compassion. A sincere smile is considered charity. A gentle word can heal a wounded heart. And patience with others is a sign of strong character. Kindness is not weakness. In fact, it is a form of strength that reflects the beauty of faith inside a person. However, there is an important balance that we must understand. Kindness does not mean allowing others to take advantage of you. Kindness does not mean ignoring your own emotional well-being just to keep everyone else comfortable. Sometimes people confuse kindness with constant availability, endless sacrifice, and unlimited tolerance. They believe being a good person means always saying yes, always agreeing, and always putting themselves last. Over time, this can quietly damage a person's self-respect and inner peace. When a person is always available, always ready to give their time, energy, and attention without limits, people may begin to take that kindness for granted. It is not because kindness has no value, but because human nature sometimes fails to appreciate what is always easily accessible. When something is always present without boundaries, its importance may slowly be ignored. A person may start feeling unnoticed, unappreciated, or emotionally exhausted simply because they never allowed themselves the space to be valued. Islam does not teach us to humiliate ourselves for the sake of pleasing others. Islam teaches dignity. Islam teaches balance. The Prophet ﷺ was the most kind, compassionate, and merciful person to ever walk on this earth. He cared deeply for people. He forgave those who hurt him, and he showed patience even in the most difficult situations. Yet, despite his immense kindness, he maintained dignity, wisdom, and strength in his character. He did not allow people to misuse his kindness in a way that would reduce the honor given to him by Allah. This teaches us an important lesson. True kindness does not mean losing your identity or ignoring your limits. True kindness exists together with self-respect. A believer understands that their time is valuable, their emotional energy is valuable, and their heart is valuable. When a person constantly gives without limits, they may slowly begin to feel empty inside. They may feel tired of always being the one who understands, the one who forgives, the one who sacrifices, while others do not show the same care in return. It is important to understand that protecting your value does not make you arrogant, it makes you balanced. Allah created every human being with honor. Your dignity is a trust given by Allah, and protecting that dignity is part of respecting the blessing Allah has given you. When you allow people to constantly cross your boundaries, ignore your feelings, or treat you as if your presence does not matter, it slowly affects your heart and weakens your confidence. Kindness should elevate your character, not reduce your worth. A wise person knows when to give and when to step back. A wise person knows that always saying yes can sometimes lead to emotional exhaustion. Wisdom teaches us that kindness should come from sincerity, not from fear of losing people. Many people remain overly nice because they fear rejection, they fear being disliked, or they fear being left alone. But the truth is, people who only value you when you constantly sacrifice yourself may not truly value you at all. When you respect yourself, others also learn how to respect you. People observe how you treat your own time, how you protect your peace, and how you respond when your boundaries are crossed. If you allow everything, people may assume everything is acceptable. But when you show quiet confidence and self-respect, people naturally begin to treat you with more care and consideration. Your time has value because once it passes, it never returns. Your energy has value because it affects your emotional and physical well-being. Your heart has value because it carries your faith, your sincerity, and your intentions. Do not give everything away in a way that leaves you feeling empty, unappreciated, or overwhelmed. Balance kindness with wisdom. Be gentle but not careless with your own heart. Be generous but do not forget your own needs. Be humble but never forget the dignity Allah has placed within you. When kindness is guided by wisdom, it becomes a source of peace, strength, and respect. 2, you are not created to please everyone. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the greatest emotional burdens a person can carry is the constant desire to make everyone happy. Many people spend their lives trying to gain approval from others. They adjust their personality depending on who they are with. They hide their true feelings just to avoid criticism. They agree with things they do not truly believe in, simply because they do not want anyone to be upset with them. Slowly, this habit begins to exhaust the heart. Living for the approval of people creates continuous pressure inside the mind. A person begins to overthink every word they speak, every action they take, and every decision they make. They constantly wonder, what will people say? Or will they accept me? Or will they still like me? But the reality is very simple. No matter how hard you try, you will never be able to please everyone. Even the prophets faced criticism. Even the most righteous people were misunderstood by others. The Prophet ﷺ, who had the most beautiful character, was still insulted, rejected, and opposed by people. If the best of creation could not please everyone, then how can we expect that every person will always be happy with us? When a person lives only to satisfy people, they slowly lose their own direction. Their decisions become controlled by opinions instead of principles. Their confidence becomes dependent on praise instead of sincerity. Their happiness becomes dependent on acceptance instead of faith. Islam teaches us something powerful. Your intention matters more than people's opinions. When your intention is to please Allah, your heart becomes lighter. You no longer feel the need to impress everyone. You no longer feel the pressure to explain yourself to every person. You begin to understand that not everyone will understand you, and that is perfectly fine. People's opinions change quickly. Today someone may praise you, tomorrow the same person may criticize you. If you build your confidence on the words of people, your emotional state will always remain unstable. But when your focus is Allah, your heart becomes steady because Allah's knowledge is perfect and His justice is complete. Many people exhaust themselves trying to maintain an image that everyone will accept. They try to appear perfect. They try to avoid every small criticism. They try to keep everyone satisfied, even if it means ignoring their own values. But this leads to emotional fatigue and inner emptiness. You were not created to live a life controlled by people's expectations. You were created to live a life guided by purpose. Your purpose is not to impress everyone. Your purpose is to live with sincerity. Sometimes doing the right thing will make some people uncomfortable. Sometimes speaking the truth politely will cause disagreement. Sometimes setting boundaries will disappoint certain individuals. But protecting what is right is more important than protecting temporary approval. A believer understands that seeking constant validation from people can become a distraction from seeking acceptance from Allah. When your heart becomes attached to people's opinions, you may begin to compromise your values just to maintain their approval. But when your heart becomes attached to Allah, you gain emotional independence. You begin to make decisions based on what is right, not based on what is popular. Not everyone will agree with your choices. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will appreciate your intentions. And that is okay. Trying to make everyone happy can cause you to lose yourself. You may begin to suppress your personality. You may begin to ignore your needs. You may begin to sacrifice your peace just to maintain temporary acceptance. But inner peace comes from sincerity, not from popularity. Islam teaches balance. Be kind to people. Treat others with respect. Speak with wisdom. But do not allow the desire for approval to control your life. When you constantly seek validation, you give people power over your emotions. A single negative comment can ruin your day. A small criticism can shake your confidence. Slowly, your happiness becomes dependent on external approval instead of internal strength. But when your intention becomes pleasing Allah, your focus becomes clear. You no longer feel the need to chase acceptance. You no longer feel the need to impress everyone. You simply strive to do what is right, even if it is not always appreciated. A strong believer understands that acceptance from Allah is greater than acceptance from people. Sometimes people may misunderstand your silence. Sometimes people may question your decisions. Sometimes people may disagree with your choices. But you do not need to explain your entire life to everyone. You do not need to justify every decision you make. You do not need to live under the pressure of constant approval. Your responsibility is sincerity, not perfection in the eyes of people. When you focus on pleasing Allah, your heart becomes calm. You stop fearing rejection from people because you trust the wisdom of Allah. You stop worrying about opinions because you know that Allah sees your intentions. This mindset protects your peace. It gives you confidence. It allows you to live with dignity. Not everyone needs to like you. Not everyone needs to agree with you. Not everyone needs to understand you. What truly matters is that Allah knows your sincerity. And when Allah is pleased with you, the opinions of people lose their weight. So live with sincerity, speak with wisdom, act with dignity, treat people with kindness, but do not lose yourself trying to gain approval from everyone. Because you were not created to please everyone. You were created to please Allah. 3, always saying yes can hurt your inner peace. My dear brothers and sisters, many people believe that always saying yes makes them a good person. They feel that refusing others may make them appear rude, selfish, or unkind. Because of this fear, they continue to agree to things even when their heart feels uncomfortable. They accept responsibilities that exhaust them. They accept requests that disturb their peace. They accept situations that create stress in their lives simply because they do not want to disappoint anyone. At first, this may seem like kindness. It may seem like generosity. It may even feel like patience. But over time, constantly saying yes to everything begins to create pressure inside the heart. A person starts feeling overwhelmed, mentally tired, and emotionally drained. They may smile on the outside, but inside they feel burdened. Islam does not teach us to live in a state of constant emotional exhaustion. Islam teaches balance, moderation, and wisdom in every matter. Allah does not expect you to destroy your well-being in order to maintain people's expectations. Allah knows your limits better than anyone else. Allah understands the capacity of your heart, your mind, and your body. When a person constantly ignores their own limits just to satisfy others, they slowly begin to lose their inner peace. They may feel that they have no time for themselves. They may feel that they are always giving but rarely receiving understanding in return. They may feel that their needs are constantly delayed while they continue fulfilling the needs of others. This creates emotional pressure that builds quietly. A person may not complain openly, but inside they feel heavy. They may begin to feel unappreciated. They may begin to feel unnoticed. They may begin to feel that their kindness is being expected rather than valued. Sometimes the fear of saying no comes from the fear of losing people. A person may think that if they refuse, others may become upset or distant. They may worry that their relationships will weaken. Because of this fear, they continue to say yes even when they are already tired. But a relationship that only survives when you constantly sacrifice your peace is not balanced. A healthy relationship includes mutual understanding, mutual respect, and mutual care. When you always say yes, people may begin to assume that you will always be available. They may not realize that you are struggling internally. They may not realize that you are overwhelmed. They may simply become used to your constant agreement. Islam encourages kindness, but Islam also encourages honesty. Being honest about your limits does not make you a bad person. It makes you a truthful person. It makes you a balanced person. Sometimes saying no is not an act of selfishness. Sometimes saying no is an act of wisdom. A believer understands that protecting their peace allows them to continue doing good in a healthy way. When you constantly overload your heart, eventually your ability to give sincerely becomes weaker. You may begin to feel irritated easily. You may begin to feel frustrated. You may begin to feel emotionally distant. But when you maintain balance, your kindness remains sincere and strong. Always remember, your peace is an amana, a trust from Allah. Your emotional well-being matters. Your mental calmness matters. Your ability to feel stable and peaceful matters. If constantly saying yes is causing you stress, anxiety, or emotional pain, it is important to pause and reflect. Ask yourself whether you are helping others in a healthy way or harming yourself in the process. Islam teaches moderation in everything. Even acts of worship are performed with balance so that a person does not become overwhelmed. This shows that balance is a principle that protects the believer from harm. When you learn to say no respectfully, you protect your inner peace. You allow yourself to recharge emotionally. You give yourself the ability to serve others sincerely when you are able to do so. Saying no politely does not remove kindness from your character. It protects sincerity in your actions. It prevents resentment from building in your heart. It allows you to maintain positive intentions. Many people feel guilty when they say no. They worry that they may appear unhelpful or distant. But the truth is, people who truly care about you will understand your limits. They will respect your honesty. They will appreciate your sincerity. Constantly ignoring your own needs can lead to emotional burnout. When a person becomes emotionally exhausted, even small tasks begin to feel heavy. Even simple interactions may feel stressful. This is not because the person is weak, but because their heart has been carrying too much pressure for too long. Protecting your peace allows you to remain calm, patient, and positive. It allows you to maintain emotional strength. It allows you to help others without feeling burdened. A wise person understands that saying yes to everything often means saying no to their own peace. When you say yes to every request, you may unknowingly say no to your own rest, your own comfort, your own priorities, and sometimes even your own spiritual focus. Your peace allows you to think clearly. Your peace allows you to make wise decisions. Your peace allows you to remain patient during challenges. When your heart is constantly overwhelmed, even small difficulties begin to feel larger than they actually are. Learning when to say no is part of emotional maturity. It is part of self-respect. It is part of wisdom. You do not need to refuse harshly. Islam teaches gentleness in speech. You can decline respectfully. You can explain politely. You can communicate your limits with kindness. Kindness and boundaries can exist together. Respect and honesty can exist together. Gentleness and firmness can exist together. A believer is not someone who allows themselves to be constantly overwhelmed. A believer is someone who understands balance. Your peace allows you to maintain focus on what truly matters. Your peace allows you to strengthen your connection with Allah. Your peace allows you to interact with others with sincerity instead of emotional pressure. Sometimes protecting your peace means reducing unnecessary obligations. Sometimes it means creating time for reflection. Sometimes it means distancing yourself from situations that constantly create stress. This does not mean you stop caring about people. It means you care in a way that is sustainable and healthy. When your heart is at peace, your kindness becomes more meaningful. Your patience becomes stronger. Your presence becomes more beneficial. Do not feel guilty for protecting your peace. Do not feel afraid of setting limits. Do not feel weak for acknowledging your emotional needs. Inner peace allows you to live with clarity, dignity, and strength. Sometimes saying no protects your yes for the things that truly matter. Sometimes saying no protects your heart from unnecessary burden. Sometimes saying no is the reason your kindness remains sincere instead of forced. Balance allows kindness to remain beautiful. Balance allows generosity to remain genuine. Balance allows your heart to remain peaceful. And a peaceful heart is one of the greatest blessings a person can have. 4. Respect yourself so people know your worth. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the important realities of life is that people often treat us based on what we allow. The way we see ourselves influences the way others see us. The way we protect our dignity teaches others how valuable our presence truly is. When a person constantly ignores their own worth, people may begin to ignore it as well. When a person repeatedly tolerates disrespect, their silence may slowly be misunderstood as acceptance. Islam teaches dignity. Islam teaches honor. Allah has created every human being with value, but the believer has been given a special form of honor through faith, character, and purpose. When a person understands that their worth comes from Allah, they stop chasing validation from people. They stop lowering themselves just to feel accepted. They stop allowing others to treat them as if their presence does not matter. Self-respect is not pride. Self-respect is awareness. It is the understanding that Allah created you with wisdom and purpose. It is the understanding that your existence is not meaningless. Your time, your energy, your emotions, and your efforts all have value. Many people struggle with self-respect because they constantly seek approval from others. They begin to measure their worth based on how people respond to them. If they are appreciated, they feel confident. If they are ignored, they feel insecure. This creates emotional instability because people's opinions change frequently. One day someone may value you, another day they may overlook you. But when your sense of worth is connected to Allah, it becomes stable, it becomes firm, it becomes independent of people's changing attitude. When a person respects themselves, they naturally develop healthier boundaries. They become more careful about how they allow others to speak to them. They become more conscious of how much of their energy they invest in certain relationships. They become more aware of situations where their kindness is not being appreciated. This does not mean becoming arrogant or harsh. Islam teaches humility in character and gentleness in speech. However, humility does not mean accepting humiliation. There is a difference between being humble and allowing yourself to be constantly disrespected. A believer is humble before Allah but dignified in front of creation. When you respect yourself, you do not feel the need to beg for attention. You do not feel the need to constantly prove your value. You do not feel the need to remain in environments where your presence is not appreciated. Some people remain in situations where they are continuously ignored simply because they fear being alone. They tolerate behavior that hurts them because they fear losing relationships. They accept words that damage their confidence because they do not want conflict. But constantly ignoring your own emotional pain slowly weakens your heart. It slowly reduces your confidence. It slowly makes you feel as though your feelings do not matter. Respecting yourself means acknowledging that your feelings are important. Your emotional well-being matters. Your peace matters. Your dignity matters. When you respect yourself, you choose environments that encourage growth instead of environments that create insecurity. You choose relationships that bring mutual understanding instead of relationships that constantly create confusion. People often observe how you treat your own time and energy. If you allow your time to be wasted repeatedly, others may not feel the need to value it. If you allow your boundaries to be crossed frequently, others may assume that boundaries do not exist. But when you gently and wisely protect your limits, people begin to understand that your presence carries value. Respecting yourself also means not constantly explaining your worth to people who are determined not to see it. Some individuals will only understand your value when they no longer have unlimited access to your time and attention. Silence can sometimes communicate dignity more strongly than long explanations. Distance can sometimes protect respect more effectively than constant effort. A believer understands that their value does not decrease simply because someone fails to recognize it. Your worth does not disappear because someone ignores your efforts. Your dignity does not reduce because someone fails to appreciate your kindness. Allah sees every intention. Allah sees every effort. Allah understands every sacrifice that remains unseen by people. When you remember this, your heart becomes stronger. You stop feeling desperate for appreciation. You stop feeling anxious for recognition. You understand that your sincerity is never wasted. Respecting yourself also means choosing not to remain in situations where you are repeatedly hurt. Forgiveness is part of Islam, but continuously placing yourself in the same harmful situation without change may continue the cycle of pain. Wisdom allows a person to forgive while also learning. Wisdom allows a person to care while also protecting their heart. Wisdom allows a person to remain kind without becoming careless with their own emotional well-being. When you respect yourself, you do not need to announce it loudly. It is visible through your calmness, your boundaries, your speech, and your decisions. People naturally sense when someone values themselves. They observe confidence in the way the person communicates. They observe stability in the way the person behaves. They observe clarity in the way the person makes decisions. Self-respect encourages others to behave respectfully. It encourages healthier communication. It encourages mutual appreciation. It encourages balanced relationships. A person who respects themselves does not chase every opportunity to be liked. Instead, they focus on being sincere and consistent. They focus on developing their character. They focus on strengthening their relationship with Allah. When your connection with Allah becomes stronger, your dependence on people's approval becomes weaker. You begin to understand that the one who created you already knows your worth. You begin to understand that your value is not decided by temporary opinions. You begin to understand that dignity is a gift that should not be given away carelessly. Respecting yourself protects your emotional health. Respecting yourself protects your confidence. Respecting yourself protects your peace. When you respect yourself, you naturally become more careful about who you allow into your inner circle. You become more aware of who influences your thoughts and emotions. You become more selective about where you invest your time and energy. This selectiveness is not arrogance, it is wisdom. Not every environment is suitable for your growth. Not every relationship is healthy for your heart. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. A believer learns to recognize where their presence is appreciated and where it is repeatedly overlooked. When you respect yourself, you stop tolerating repeated disrespect. You stop accepting behavior that constantly disturbs your peace. You stop reducing your standards just to maintain temporary connections. Because deep inside you understand that Allah created you with honor. And anything that constantly damages that honor deserves careful reflection. Self-respect allows your kindness to remain pure. Self-respect allows your generosity to remain sincere. Self-respect allows your presence to remain meaningful. When you respect yourself, people begin to understand that your kindness is valuable, not unlimited. They begin to understand that your presence is meaningful, not replaceable. They begin to understand that your dignity is not negotiable. And this understanding creates healthier relationships built on mutual respect instead of imbalance. Never forget, your worth comes from Allah. And when you remember who gave you your value, you will never feel the need to beg people to recognize it. 5. True kindness includes kindness to yourself. My dear brothers and sisters, kindness is often understood as something we show to others. We speak gently to people, we help those in need, we forgive mistakes, and we try to bring ease into the lives of those around us. These are all beautiful qualities, and Islam strongly encourages mercy, compassion, and generosity in our character. A believer is someone whose presence brings comfort, whose words bring peace, and whose actions bring benefit. But sometimes, in the process of being kind to everyone else, a person forgets to be kind to themselves. They become patient with everyone but harsh with themselves. They forgive everyone but they keep blaming themselves for every mistake. They give time to everyone but they feel guilty when they take time to rest. They show understanding to everyone but they ignore their own emotional needs. Slowly, this imbalance begins to affect the heart. A person may appear calm on the outside, but inside they may feel exhausted. They may feel overwhelmed by responsibilities. They may feel mentally tired from always being strong for others. They may feel emotionally drained from constantly giving without allowing themselves to recover. Islam teaches balance in every matter. Balance is not only needed in our actions, but also in how we treat our own hearts. Your heart has rights. Your body has rights. Your mind has rights. Ignoring your own well-being does not make your kindness stronger. Instead, it slowly weakens your ability to continue giving sincerely. When a person continuously ignores their emotional needs, they may eventually reach a point where even small tasks feel heavy. Even simple interactions may feel exhausting. Even acts of kindness may begin to feel forced instead of natural. This is not because the person is weak. It is because their heart has been carrying too much for too long without rest. The Prophet ﷺ taught moderation in all aspects of life, even in acts of worship. Balance was encouraged so that a person would not become overwhelmed. This shows that Islam does not encourage a person to live in a state of constant pressure or exhaustion. Taking care of yourself does not mean becoming selfish. It means preserving the strength that allows you to continue doing good. When you give yourself time to rest, your mind becomes clearer. When you allow your heart to recover, your patience becomes stronger. When you create space for peace, your kindness becomes more genuine. A person who is constantly emotionally exhausted may struggle to remain patient. They may become easily irritated. They may feel frustrated over small matters. They may lose the calmness that once defined their personality. But when a person maintains emotional balance, their kindness becomes more consistent. Their patience becomes more stable. Their ability to handle challenges becomes stronger. True kindness includes understanding your own limits. It includes recognizing when you need rest. It includes allowing yourself moments of quiet. It includes protecting your emotional well-being. Many people feel guilty when they take time for themselves. They feel as though they are neglecting others. They feel as though they are not doing enough. But constantly neglecting your own needs can slowly damage your emotional health. Rest is not laziness. Silence is not weakness. Stepping back is not failure. Sometimes distance allows clarity. Sometimes quiet moments allow healing. Sometimes reducing pressure allows strength to return. When you are kind to yourself, you allow your heart to recover from stress. You allow your mind to release unnecessary pressure. You allow your emotions to stabilize. This inner stability improves every aspect of your life. It improves how you speak to people. It improves how you respond to challenges. It improves how you make decisions. It improves how you handle difficulties. A peaceful heart responds differently than a tired heart. A peaceful heart thinks clearly. A peaceful heart speaks gently. A peaceful heart remains patient. But a constantly exhausted heart may struggle to maintain these qualities. That is why caring for your emotional well-being is not separate from your kindness. It is part of your kindness. When you take care of yourself, you prevent resentment from building inside you. Sometimes a person gives too much for too long without rest, and eventually they begin to feel unappreciated. They may begin to feel that their efforts are unnoticed. They may begin to feel emotionally distant from people they once cared about deeply. But when you maintain balance, your giving remains sincere. Your kindness remains voluntary. Your generosity remains meaningful. True kindness is not forced. True kindness flows naturally when the heart is stable. Taking care of yourself may include creating boundaries that protect your time. It may include reducing unnecessary commitments. It may include allowing yourself moments of reflection. It may include distancing yourself from environments that constantly create stress. It may include surrounding yourself with people who encourage peace instead of pressure. When your environment supports your emotional health, your ability to do good increases. When your heart feels calm, your ability to show patience increases. When your mind feels clear, your decisions become wiser. Islam encourages believers to live with balance so that they remain consistent in goodness. A person who constantly exhausts themselves may struggle to remain consistent. They may begin with strong motivation, but eventually feel overwhelmed. But a person who protects their emotional well-being is able to continue doing good for a longer period of time. Consistency is beloved. Stability is strength. Balance is protection. Being kind to yourself also means not constantly blaming yourself for every imperfection. Every human makes mistakes. Every human experiences moments of weakness. Every human has days when they feel less productive. Constant self-criticism creates emotional heaviness, but gentle self-reflection encourages growth. Learn from your mistakes, but do not punish yourself endlessly. Improve yourself, but do not hate yourself. Correct your errors, but do not lose hope in yourself. Allah's mercy is vast, and remembering Allah's mercy allows you to be more patient with yourself as well. Being kind to yourself includes speaking to yourself with encouragement instead of constant negativity. It includes recognizing your efforts even when results take time. It includes appreciating your progress even if it feels small. It includes understanding that growth is a gradual process. When you treat yourself with compassion, your confidence grows in a healthy way. Your heart becomes stronger. Your outlook becomes more hopeful. Your patience becomes more stable. A person who constantly feels emotionally pressured may begin to lose motivation. But a person who feels balanced is able to continue moving forward. Taking care of yourself also protects your relationship with Allah. When your mind is overwhelmed, it becomes difficult to focus. When your heart is exhausted, it becomes difficult to feel present. But when your emotional state is balanced, your connection with Allah becomes stronger. You are able to reflect more deeply. You are able to focus more sincerely. You are able to feel calmness in your worship. Balance strengthens spirituality. Emotional stability improves concentration. Inner peace improves sincerity. All of this begins with understanding that your well-being matters. Your emotional health matters. Your peace matters. Your stability matters. You do not need to constantly prove your worth by exhausting yourself. You do not need to constantly sacrifice your peace to show that you care. Care in a way that is sustainable. Give in a way that is balanced. Help in a way that allows you to remain strong. Because when you remain strong, your ability to benefit others becomes greater. When you remain peaceful, your presence becomes more comforting. When you remain emotionally stable, your words become more impactful. Kindness becomes most powerful when it is supported by balance. Kindness becomes most meaningful when it is supported by stability. Kindness becomes most beneficial when it is supported by wisdom. Be kind to people, but also be kind to your own heart. Because a heart that is cared for can care for others better. A heart that is peaceful can spread peace more effectively. A heart that is balanced can remain consistent in goodness. And consistency in goodness creates lasting impact. True kindness includes kindness to yourself. And when kindness begins within, it spreads outward in the most beautiful way. My dear brothers and sisters, kindness is a gift, but it should never become a reason for losing yourself. You were not created to live under the pressure of pleasing everyone. You were not created to sacrifice your peace just to be accepted. Allah has given you dignity. Allah has given you worth. And no one has the right to make you feel less than the value Allah has placed within you. Be kind, but do not allow your kindness to be used against you. Be gentle, but do not allow your heart to be constantly hurt. Be humble, but never forget the honor Allah has given you. The strongest believers are not those who please everyone. The strongest believers are those who remain sincere, balanced, and dignified in every situation. Respect yourself, because when you respect yourself, you protect the peace Allah has placed inside your heart. And when your heart is at peace, your kindness becomes more powerful, more sincere, and more meaningful.